Hey everyone, I hope you've been enjoying the first day of our virtual frontiers. Thank you all for joining today's panel discussion. This is Connect Teams and Improve Customer Care, Insights from Customer Experience Leaders. Today, we're going to hear from two exceptional customer experience leaders about how they are innovating the way their teams work, and they're using Slack to prioritize customers, work more efficiently, and provide exceptional customer care. Between those leaders and myself, we're going to examine three very different industry use cases. Those are retail, healthcare, and software. By the end of this session, we want you to walk away inspired to try something new with Slack in your own organization and prepared to have continued conversations with other leaders in your companies about the value of Slack for support. But before I introduce our panelists, I'd like to share some of the guiding principles around customer experience within my own organization, which is Slack. My name is Allie Rail, and I lead our customer experience team here at Slack. I'm also going to be the moderator for your discussion today. So today's customers are born into an experience-driven world. Differentiated service and personalized service is a table stake. And in fact, more than 50% of our customers say that they would switch to a competitor after just one bad experience. If they have more than one bad experience, that snowballs to 80%. Customer service and support teams have drastically evolved in order to deliver on this. Organizations who truly understand that business success rests on superior customer experience are finding ways to better unite all of their teams together around the customer. This means that instead of pushing customer care to the edge of the business, they're weaving support and service teams throughout the entire organization. But this gives them the opportunity for a true partnership with cross-functional teams and unlocks access to the unique departmental insights that are required both to fuel these experiences and to continuously supply critical customer signals back to the business. So, whether you call it support or service or experience or care, it all translates into the same message, which is that we make sure customers are at the center of everything that we do. And Slack is the link that you need to power this human-centric transformation inside of your organization. Slack allows your organization to ignite customer centricity, remove barriers to expertise, and empower your customer experience and support teams. At Slack, the company, we live and breathe this every single day since we use Slack, the product, to support our customers and our agents. But you don't have to take my word for it. So with that, please join me in welcoming our two panelists to the virtual stage. We have Michelle Yanez Olivares. She's the head of customer experience at the Accent Group, which is the regional leader in the retail and distribution of performance and lifestyle footwear. We also have Sebastian Brazzacci. He's the VP of Service Operations at Oscar Health. Oscar was founded as the first health insurance company built to make healthcare simple and engaging. Today, we're going to hear how Slack powers their customer experience organization and how it allows them to weave customer experience into their business strategy. So, Michelle and Sebastian, welcome. We're going to start with the two of you telling us a little bit about yourselves, your company, and what makes customer experience different at your organization. I'm going to throw it over to Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you? Michelle. I'm the head of customer experience at the Accent Group. Thank you so much for having me. So for us, Slack is super important. Myself personally, my career journey, I've been using it well before my time at the Accent Group. I started using it in a couple of companies before then. So I'm well across and well versed on how to use it and leverage off it for in a business standpoint. So we at the Accent Group, we're a regional leader in retail and distribution of performance and lifestyle footwear. We have over 430 stores currently across Australia and New Zealand, across 12 different retail banners. And we also do have the exclusive rights for the distribution, the wholesale distribution of international brands across Australia and New Zealand. So the customer experience is huge. It's everything that we do. It's part of our ethos. It does generally go through the DNA of the Accent Group. And, you know, at the moment, a corporate goal for us is virtual selling. And we do want to shift the perception around CX and how CX is perceived not only by the business, the stakeholders, our affiliates, but also our customers. We want to make sure that CX is not just a cost center, that it generates sales, it's delivering ROI, and it's also about improving just how the customers and their perception of our brand. So for us, what's important about Slack and how we adopt it is Slack's initially brought to us by the e-commerce department. So Just to set the stage, when I first arrived, there was a few, I guess, communication gaps across a couple of departments. So myself in CX, we actually had a significant sized team in Manila, about 30, an office of about 30, I think, offshore agents. And so we started, and then we had a couple of departments that we would liaise with continuously. So we thought, right, there's lots of communication gaps, and we thought to adopt Slack to help us improve that and make sure that it was a comfortable internal communication platform for everyone, not only for a communication standpoint, but also to improve efficiency and productivity. So one of the first things that we did was a total overhaul. We set the stage. We said, now Slack's going to be the main platform that we use moving forward. If you want to communicate with customer experience, both internally, and very soon we're going to start our external journey to communicate with others externally. But we can talk more about that later. But yeah, definitely we're a big advocate of Slack, and we certainly do use it for everything customer experience at the moment.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Sebastian, tell us a little bit about yourself and Oscar Health.
Sure. First, thank you for having me here. I'm Sebastian Brzezaki, and I am the Vice President of Service Operations at Oscar Health. As Ali just mentioned, Oscar Health is the first insurance company built to make health insurance both simple and engaging. We built our own technology and personalized member experience to change the way health insurance is delivered in the United States, hopefully helping our members' health outcomes improve along the way and helping them save money as well. Regarding the member experience, not only do we think this is a differentiator for Oscar, but it is a direct part of our strategy. So much so that we actually built Concierge, our customer service department, to support our members differently than any other health insurance provider in the United States. Every Oscar member has their own personalized concierge team, which consists of about 5 care guides and a team of clinical experts. Concierge or care teams are hyper-regionalized so that care guides can become experts in not only the members' hospital network, but also their geography. And then the one specific thing that is important to know about care teams is that they own the member's issue end to end. So instead of transferring a member to a different department or passing them along to someone else to solve their problem, it is the care guide's responsibility to solve that issue for their member and going and tracking down that issue or that solution for that member, which Slack helps improve that resolution speed greatly. Basically, what we're trying to create are great member experiences to help drive engagement and foster as much trust with our members as possible.
Yeah, I love that last point. Great customer experiences really should drive engagement and trust from our customers. And in the end, all that should really drive revenue and growth for our businesses. And, Michelle, we were talking last week, and, I asked you a little bit about what you mentioned earlier in terms of, your team not just dealing with support, but also, and not just being a cost center, but really helping to drive sales. And that resonated a lot too with how things work at Slack. Like, people contact us and they're looking for information about our companies and about our products. We do stand ahead of a sale, as well as after a sale. So yeah, both of you totally resonate with that. We're big believers in this chain of events at Slack, and we see Slack, the product, when it's used well by customer support teams, as enabling this ethos, this complete customer experience. So I know why we use Slack. It's our product, and I work here. But I'd love to hear more from both of you about how you and why you use Slack. So Sebastian, let's start with you. So why did Oscar Health start to use Slack for your support organizations, and what problems were you trying to solve?
Sure. So specifically for customer service, or what we call concierge, before Slack, if a care guide was unable to solve a member's issue while they're on the phone with them, they'd have to hang up and then start the escalation path without the member, which created much longer resolution times and less desirable experiences. So what we did with Slack is we embedded escalation pathways directly through Slack to help our care guides problem solve and resolve more member issues while on the phone, while they were engaging with members. This agility really helped us drive some of our key performance indicators around accuracy and speed, which then hopefully improved engagement as trust, as we just talked about. Right.
And so, Michelle, I mean, for you, obviously, Sebastian, it's enabling a new type of, I guess, customer engagement strategy for you. And Michelle, when we talked last week, it sounds like it's something similar for you as well. So how did you why did you start using Slack specifically at Accent, and what problems were you trying to solve?
Yeah, so for us, when we first started, and sort of what I mentioned earlier was we had an offshore office, which was important. They served as our frontline. And for us, we have, at that time, I do believe we had 24-hour support, and we use it as a competitive edge. In the retail landscape, you don't really have that many retailers who have support available till 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning. So we wanted to make sure that our frontline agents in Manila and also those locally in Melbourne had a platform where we could not only use as an internal communication platform, but also to just use surface as much information as possible. So we do have our quality assurance officer who sort of does the production of all the internal resources and training material, and of course all the people managers who push information into Slack. And then what helped, that sort of helped improve the accessibility of the information for the frontline in Manila, so they didn't necessarily have to wait for business hours to get that information. If they were working at 1 a.m., a customer came through live chat or talk and asked a question, they had that information readily available. Something that for us that we thought was absolutely key was that Slack had this sort of search capability, sort of similar to Google. So we always trained the agent and said, right, if, for us, 30-second response time is the absolute best-in-class KPI that we're looking to achieve for chat. So if a customer comes through chat, they can jump on Slack, search the information. They can see not only a previous conversation or a previous question, perhaps it's already been answered, but also the attachments that they get, the files. Click that, review the file, get the information, get back to the customer. And so for us, that's helped our wait time, that's helped our resolution time. And then internally, of course, just the ease of collaboration with other departments and us internally within CX also.
I think you picked up on something really important there, which was the shift from one-to-one communications to one-to-many communications. Just the ability to, and the thought that goes into making sure that everybody has access to and sees the same information, and the efficiencies that you achieve in your organization when you say things once and everybody gets to see them has also been hugely important for us at Slack. And we're in very similar situations where we have folks working, like when I'm asleep at 1 a.m., we definitely have people supporting customers because we're a global business. So yeah, super similar needs there. I'm really glad to hear that you kind of teased out that one-to-one, one-to-many. It's a really key part of running organizations like ours, I think. But for both of you, I'm really glad to hear that when you're faced with all these problems, you turn to Slack. And I think, as we know, we talked about this a little bit before, Slack is a really highly customizable tool. And Sebastian, you said it yourself, Slack is agile and you tailor it to your individual use cases. Any team, though, can tailor Slack to unite your support teams around any customer. So you can deliver higher quality answers faster and ultimately build customer trust. So I'm wondering, how have you used Slack to do this at Oscar Health?
So as I mentioned previously, we created a tiered channel structure for care guides to use as escalation pathways while they're on the phone with members. They have 3 tiers that they can work through while dealing with more complicated, more personalized issues their members might be facing. So there are three channels that they can go to for answers: is a team channel, a regional channel, and then an expert channel. First, if they're unable to answer the problem directly, they can go to their team channel to look for advice. The team channel is very similar to turning your chair around and asking your team members close by, and we've tried to recreate that environment in Slack now that we're in a virtual setting. If they're unable to get the answer there, then they can escalate to a regional channel. The regional channel has more care teams embedded into it, so there are more resources to hopefully answer their problem, but they usually share the same hospital networks, so there's a likelihood of other care guides facing similar issues. If they can't find a solution there, then they can escalate to a final expert channel. Here, the problem can be quickly diagnosed to let the care guide know how deep or how sticky the problem is, so they can start setting expectations with the member, whether troubleshooting with the member on the phone or having to hang up and start an escalation path off of the phone. Simply put, what we're trying to do is crowdsource an answer in an extremely controlled but efficient manner. This tiered structure also allows us to feed information back to care guides extremely efficiently, as well as to very specific audiences, which helps reduce what we call is information fatigue. We can identify exactly what information needs to get to the specific teams, and we can tailor that information. Before Slack, we'd have to send these blanketed emails out to the entire team, and the onus was on the care guides to figure out what they needed to know and what they didn't need to know. Now the information coming to them is always pertinent to them because we've already filtered out unnecessary information, which we tailor to other teams. Basically, what the structure has allowed us to do is create better accuracy for our care guides, as well as improve the speed of response for member issues at much greater scale.
Yeah, the thing that's really interesting to me about this, so a well-defined escalation path is really critical to your customer experience, how you manage those workflows. It feeds into your resolution times. And the thing that struck me is that it's so similar to how we do things at Slack ourselves. So we also have really well-defined escalation paths. For example, if a tricky iOS ticket comes in, there's a small channel with a bunch of people who know about iOS within the customer experience team. If they can't figure it out, it'll roll out to a bigger channel where we might get better answers. And ultimately, we might go to the engineering team. So totally different industries, but we've come up with really similar systems through Slack. So Michelle, how are you using Slack to support customer experience within the retail industry?
Yeah, so similar to Sebastian, it's all for us. It's about better accuracy and speed of support at scale. We want to create the ability for more tasks. For us at the moment, it's huge around virtual selling, and Slack enables us to do so. So we brought Slack on board so we can clearly define cross-functional channels. Super important for us is to make sure that we receive around 50,000 tickets a month, right? And each of these tickets, we do need to get in contact with an internal stakeholder, whether it be buying for a product. If there's a product defect, we need to communicate what SKU it is so they can potentially seek compensation, or if it's an e-com manager and there's a glitch on the website. So these, I guess, cross-functional channels that we've set up is to seamlessly communicate with them, and not just us in this leader team, but also for the agents as well. And we've chosen Slack as our communication platform of choice. So these internal stakeholders and also a few external affiliates know when to contact with the Accent Group CX department. That's the actual platform to go ahead with. It's a tool that helps us be quick, agile, get quickly answer customer responses. And the next thing that we did is set up SLA agreements with these stakeholders. So for example, we have a pretty significant click and dispatch model. So we do have over 430 stores, and about 70% of our orders are fulfilled from store. So basically what we've done is said, hey store, can you aim to get back to us within 24 hours? And what Slack has enabled us to do is have an easy way to communicate to store whilst we're using our Zendesk ticketing system. So our Zendesk system is where we accept all of our inquiries. It's our ticketing system of choice. We've integrated Slack into that, and that's allowed us for the agent to remain in Zendesk, contact store, or contact the internal stakeholder on the Slack channel. And then we've said, get back to us within 24 hours, and that's really set the foundation for us. And then ultimately what we look to do is just reduce the resolution time. And I think that's where the added value comes from Slack, because it's quick, because it's established, there's clear communication lines and guidelines. We've been able to get the resolution time down from about 5 days to about 24 hours.
Oh, that's amazing. That's such a huge improvement. Congratulations. Okay, so both of you just mentioned the importance of measuring processes, and you're quantitatively demonstrating improvements. And part of this is proving that Slack is solving some, but maybe not all of your problems. So I want to dig a little bit more into that. So how are you measuring your success? And Michelle, you just mentioned speed of response, reducing it from 5 days to 24 hours. It's got to be especially important within a retail organization because it has genuine downstream business impacts. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so like I said, resolution time is absolutely key for us. Given that we're retail, it's all about fast business and making sure that we do get back to the customer as quickly as possible. And also it's around customer satisfaction. So I do recall when I was first onboarded, we were about 58%, and now we are comfortably sitting at about above 90%. And so we did see a small dip during the sort of COVID-19 period. Of course, we unfortunately dropped to a skeleton team, but we have done a process of really building up on it and seeking to improve. We also do use Slack to track our quality assurance. We make sure that we have a set channel for the agent to actively give feedback, help us identify any knowledge gaps or process gaps that is picked up by our QA officer, and then sort of we do a closed feedback loop to ensure that we can close those gaps. Our philosophy is all about agent experience as well, and I think this one's absolutely huge. We do actively measure attrition, turnover, and Slack, given that our frontline team for the most part is of a younger demographic, they're all about social media, digital natives. For them, Slack feels like home, and that's actually verbatim from the agents themselves. So it really enables us to measure turnover and attrition and make sure that we give them, a secure, not only communication platform for work, but also a sense of community. And then also, of course, we're in the process of, our inception of our new virtual sales team was towards the end of April, beginning of May. And Slack's really enabled us to kind of continue to drive this and seek ideas and feedback from the team. Hey guys, what's working, what's not working? You're engaging with customers all the time. What are they asking for? And then we actually have set channels. One of our channels is called Project Sales, and that really Shark Tank. And that enables the agent to continuously post good feedback about what's working for the customers, what they want more of. And then we actually pass that information directly on the other Slack channel, straight to the buyers, straight to the e-com managers. So that's really helped us a lot.
I love it. And that metric, going from 58 CSAT to 90% and above, that's like amazing. So congratulations. You should be proud of that. Sebastian, how are you measuring success at Oscar?
Sure. It's similar to us, but without the direct revenue drivers. We measure things in two ways. We measure what we want as outcomes, and then we look at the correlating factors which drive those outcomes. So the outcomes that our customer service team, our concierge team, is looking to optimize for is member satisfaction, which we measure through NPS and CSAT surveys, as well as member trust, which we also measure through customer surveys, but also through data analysis of our member behaviors, determining whether or not they are taking our advice. These outcome metrics have three categories of KPIs behind them, which are the process metrics we believe are going to drive those outcome metrics. Those three categories are speed, quality, and effort. We measure speed through response and resolution time through our members. We measure quality through our quality assessments and accuracy of information provided. And then we measure effort through a member effort score, as well as first engagement resolution. Really what we want to make sure is that we're delivering on our promise of making health insurance simple, easy, and engaging for our members.
So one thing I noticed while you were both talking is that neither of you talked about the traditional customer support KPI of handle time. At Slack, this isn't something that we look at. Obviously, I want to know how long it takes for us to solve a customer problem, but we don't goal our agents against it. We're never trying to specifically drive it down. So I'm wondering, Sebastian, you and I talked about this just a little bit. You also are not goaling your agents against handle time, but I think you said that you're seeing you're actually seeing a reduced total resolution time despite that. Is that right?
Yeah. So like you said, we don't measure handle times, average handle times, wrap times for our care guides. Really what we're looking for them to do is drive satisfaction and trust. Mm-hmm. And then what we do is we supplement tools and processes to make them as efficient as possible. So it is the onus on us to create resolution time and response time as quick as possible. And it's on the onus for the care guide to make sure that they're taking the best care of the member, fostering trust with them, and creating a great engagement and experience for them.
Yep, I love it. One of the other major shifts I see, and we kind of just danced around, is the active role that we're all taking in helping to shape our product offerings. And a lot of us, we're all doing this through thoughtful conversations with the rest of our companies in Slack. And so I'm wondering how both of you more specifically use Slack to shape the product offerings at both Accent and Oscar. So Michelle, let's start with you again.
Yeah, so for us, we do support 15 brands across 15 channels. We actually currently have 19 websites that we cater to, and that's across three main pillars. So we do have wholesale, digital, and retail. And retail traditionally has been the core focus of our business, but now we are definitely seeing a shift to digital. And so these are, I guess, the pillars where the agents can consult with each other. They can use the knowledge base to get answers from customers and really drive the conversation forward. And having all that information together allows us to track individual customers and products across all three pillars. I guess it's that aim for single customer profile, which is super important for us at the moment. We can basically centralize this information and use this to build product profiles and then to use for later analysis. So we have set up for our Zendesk integration the ability to create dashboards and reporting that's automatically shared in the right channels to the right people. At the moment, we see CX as the heart of the business. We capture all the valuable customer insights, and whether that be onshore, offshore, and then we are looking at actively sharing that back out. So as we capture it, sharing it out so it's actionable insights for the wider business and they can use it as they see fit. And so recently our dashboards had services or trends around vans that we're able to quickly explore and convert to actionable information. And we could share that directly with the purchasing team so they could adjust their forecast and product options accordingly. So basically, as we capture the information and then Zendesk allows us to build dashboards, we customize those dashboards per brand, and then we feed those dashboards back onto the branded Slack channel. So for example, we have a Vans channel. So as we, download the report, it's quite automated. It goes onto the Vans Slack channel, and then all the Vans internal stakeholders have access to that, whether I'm a Vans buyer, a Vans product developer, whether I'm in the e-com team or whether I'm in marketing. And I think that's where we see that value as well.
Yeah, I think that's super important because what you just talked about is it's not just anecdotes from your customer, it's like real data. So you're using not just Slack, but Zendesk and all the reporting capabilities and integrations to make sure that the folks in your business who are making decisions about how to move forward have real data-driven insights that are basically real time, because you're pushing these reports out basically as soon as you get the information. Like, you're giving them stuff at their fingertips right when it matters. And that's just a hugely important step for, I think, a lot of organizations to take to move to this automated data-driven way of providing customer feedback to our org. So I love hearing about it. It sounds like you're doing an amazing job.
Yeah, and
so,
I think
go ahead.
Sorry, just to say, what's really helped us is that we also do have the agents in those Slack channels. So if the buyer would say, hey, I'm looking at this report and I want to understand why this SKU isn't performing or what the customer is saying about it, we also do have the agent who can actively jump in and say, hey, buyer, or hey, product developer, or hey, e-com manager, this is my feedback, or this is directly the customer's verbatim, and it's all captured in the one place. And I think that's super powerful. So I agree with you.
I love it. So you have like product development working in Slack right alongside the folks who can actually give them insight on their SKUs.
That's right. Yeah.
That's cool. I love it. So Sebastian, what about you? I know that you're also using Slack and using Slack data for impactful insights for Oscar.
Yeah. So similar to what Michelle said, we're surfacing trends and opportunities for other departments to improve the member experience, whether it's the product team to make enhancements to the app or the website, or our network team to find areas to optimize hospital networks. But we also use this to surface thematic issues that are impacting our members, so we can get super proactive at solving problems before they actually become problems. For us, Slack data is really the member voice, because that data is coming through our care guides, which is directly translated from the member. So when you look at the escalation channels that I talked about before, our care guides are sharing a lot of information through those channels. And we have a team that monitors those channels and conducts keyword searches, runs some polls through there, and is really looking for themes or issues that might be bubbling. And when they find something, they can quickly triage that to an appropriate department to help solve and knock down that issue. A really powerful example of this feedback loop is during the early parts of COVID-19, our care guides raised the issue that federal and state regulation conflicted, and they didn't know how to properly service members. We were able to quickly identify that, loop in our reg affair teams through Slack, get proper guidance, and then deliver that guidance, which was actually tailored care team by care team, because different states have different regulations. So we're able to get the very succinct information back to those care guides so they could service their members very quickly. And And that entire feedback loop probably took a couple of hours, where in the past, it probably would have taken us a couple of days just to identify the issue. So it's an example of how we're using it in the short term to identify themes and issues to better our service to members, and also in the long term to better our tools and networks and provider systems.
So I'm curious, like, while we're on the subject of COVID-19, like you just talked about a really a dynamic system that you had to build right away to serve a very urgent and emerging need. Was this something that, like, were your care agents already distributed around the country and it was pretty second nature to just have, different people input into channels, or were you kind of in mass chaos also trying to wrangle COVID information for the nation?
We did a really good job. We're a team of, data scientists. Oscar is backed by technology and data scientists. So we did really good, but, hearing it directly from the member is also extremely impactful than just pulling data insights from claims as well as some other data. So you can really correlate or triangulate really what's happening to the member, as well as determine, how impactful the thing actually is on the member. How painful is this specific thing? You have a signal from the data, but then you have the member's voice, which says, yes, this is extremely painful. Please solve this for me. Or it could be, yeah, this is kind of nagging or annoying. Please solve this thing before this thing. I can live with this thing for a couple of weeks.
Right. Makes sense. So we've just gone through a lot of where we are and what we've done over the last little bit. And I'm curious to hear from both of you about the future. So where do you see the future of customer experience going from where we are today? And Sebastian, I guess I'll throw it back to you.
All right. For us, it's really furthering the differentiated member experience that we're providing our members. We want to continue driving as much trust and engagement with our members, which is a key proponent in any industry, but especially within healthcare. Engagement and trust allows us to capture more opportunities where we can then capture symbiotic value between us and our members. We can hopefully improve their health outcomes and hopefully lower their cost of care in the long run. Through Slack, we've been able to create a win-win, providing better agility to create better member experiences at lower cost and at much greater scale, and also in a virtual setting now.
Aren't we all? I love it though. So Michelle, the future for you, and it's like in talking to you, I've learned that you very much are moving into the future right now. Like you have moved your team out of simply being a cost center and moving forward. But what else is in the future of customer experience for you and for retail in general?
Yeah, so for us, what a journey we've been through. So everything from, I feel as though the industry in 2019 started making a shift towards customer experience. Certainly for us, when we first started, we were known as customer service, then moved to customer care. And then when I was onboarded, the business made a decision to rebrand as customer experience. And that's when we sort of moved away from sort of this single point. It's just customer service. It's actually, no, it's the DNA that we're going to flow through all the departments in the Accent Group. So for us, the future is about, to your point, how can we move away from just being a cost center and actually start actively generating revenue for the business, and also what is the return on investment for customer experience? As we all know, it's a challenge calculating. And we're looking to achieve that with AI. That's our journey. At the moment, we're in the process of scoping out lots of fantastic tools and Zendesk upgrades, and looking at how we can better, look at the future and say, how can we automate the experience? How can we increase our presence? How can we reduce the cost to serve with all the right tools and resources, and then continue to improve the customer experience across all the brands, which for us, we're quite unique. Our business model, we've got so many brands, we've got so many different customer bases that we need to cater to. Something also to note is that we, as customer experience in retail, we cover the whole journey, and a lot of people don't realize that. So I guess traditionally within the Accent Group, we were looked at as the tail end of supply chain. When a customer wants to return an item, they need to go to you. When there's a customer complaint, they need to go to you. And we're saying, well, not technically, no. We actually do everything from setting up the stage for the customer pre-sale, to now we have a virtual sales team who does the selling. Everything mid-transaction, if the customer's just about to cancel their order, how can we intercept and say, hold on a minute, we've actually got, let me reach out to the internal stakeholder on our Slack channel, see what if they've got more information about a new release that's upcoming, get back to you, don't cancel that order because we can do something else for you. And then of course, all the post-transaction. So really communicating about that and saying, we're going to start measuring all of this with all those KPIs, sort of moving away, to your point earlier, from handle time and starting to look at the whole engagement of the customer, pre-sales, post-sale, and then even their future lifetime value and how we can secure them with retention. So we absolutely are looking, of course, with all the fun stuff, as you can say, that reducing the cost to serve, which is always going to play a big part. But how can we continue? At the moment, the focus is how can we continue to improve the customer experience whilst reducing the cost to serve. And on top of that, adding the extra value of saying, hey, we can actually generate a lot of value for you. Sort of inception today of our virtual sales team, we've managed to cross the 1 mil mark, which is huge for us. Little old CX, you'd never think. And really now that Slack has set the foundation for us, and that's almost like home for us, right? We've now got an ecosystem where Slack's embedded to our main ticketing system, which is Zendesk. The way that we communicate, we've sort of gone, moving from an office virtually, we're here in Melbourne, we're still sort of mid-COVID, but our wider team is based virtually, and we use Slack to communicate. So now we're like, okay, we've got that foundational piece. Let's look at the next layer and continue to build on it with lots of AI and automation.
I love it. Like, you're doing so much interesting stuff. It's so cool. I hope I get a chance to talk to you in a year and figure out how it all went. And I could talk to both of you for ages because this stuff is fascinating and you're doing amazing work, not just with Slack, but like with your customers and your companies. Sadly, I'm also seeing a timer that says I can't. So I would like to wrap it up with some takeaways. And here's what I've taken away from today's discussion. So we know that differentiated and personalized support, it's a table stake for companies. So what you heard from both Sebastian and Michelle is that they're taking approaches to supporting their customers that are unique, not to just their industry and not to just their business, but to their company and their company's mission, vision, and goals. We know that great customer experiences drive engagement and trust with our customers. We know that these outcomes directly impact revenue and growth of our businesses. We know that well-defined escalation paths are critical to enabling our agents to deliver superior customer experiences, and we know that Slack makes those clear, easy, and accessible. We also know that customer experience is moving away from the traditional model of a cost center, and it's moving towards a revenue-driving, strategy-enabling function, one that has a seat at the table. So I hope all of you can think about what inspires you here, and I hope that you're empowered to continue these conversations with leaders in your company about the value of Slack for your support organizations. Michelle, Sebastian, thank you both so much for joining us today. I'm really glad to have you here. I really enjoyed hearing your perspectives. I hope our audience did as well. So everybody, thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for coming to our session. Please continue the conversation in the Slack Frontiers workspace and with your teams.